Hi there, colorful quilters. It's Rebecca Bryan from Bryan House Quilts here, and I am so glad to see you here because I want to tell you about laundry. Yeah. No, seriously. I know that whenever I want to do laundry and sit and fold laundry or cook or clean or bake, I know that I'm really just hiding from something I don't want to do. And so what I wanted to get on here with you guys today is talk about, symptoms of color troubles that you might be having, and maybe you're hiding from symptoms of color trouble. And what I would love for you to do is just to start listening to yourself and see what kind of symptoms of color trouble are you subconsciously sending to yourself. So let's go ahead and get started. So yeah, laundry, cleaning, cooking, baking. These are activities that I do not love in the slightest. I know some people like to bake. A lot of you guys are baking during quarantine, but that just does not interest me whatsoever. I mean, cleaning and folding laundry, that's like a no-brainer. No one wants to do that. But for me, if I find myself wanting to do those things, that's a clear sign that I'm avoiding something. And it's a clear sign I'm avoiding a problem that I don't want to address. Not all the time, but a lot of the times, right? And so the problem here is that if we are avoiding our problem, then we're never going to solve the problem, right? And so if we don't know we have a problem, we can't solve the problem. And for quilting, for most of us, it's a hobby, so it's really easy for us to avoid our color troubles because we can just go do something else. Like we don't have to quilt. We don't have to do the thing that's giving us a color struggle. But if we don't move past those color troubles, they're going to keep popping up again and again. And so what's going to happen is that even though we, move from project to project, those color troubles are going to keep popping up. And so if we don't address those problems, we're just going to keep running up into those problems. Let me pause for a minute and I want to say hi to my lovely people who are saying hi to me. So Maria is here and Patty is here. So good to see you girls here. Thanks so much for tuning in with me live. And if you're watching live, go ahead and say hi. And if you're watching later, because chances are a lot of you guys are going to be seeing this when I'm not live, go ahead and say hi. Let me know that you stopped by. And I would love to hear if you have any symptoms of like what is something that you do to hide from a problem. I would love to hear that. All right, so what I would love for you guys to do is just to start listening to yourself and like what are you subconsciously doing to avoid a problem with color or anything when it comes to quilting. And again, we don't have to quilt. It's a hobby. So, some of these symptoms are going to be a little sneaky because we don't have to address the problem. And I know like when I have to do like taxes, then that's like a clear time when I want to bake or I want to do laundry. But taxes, you have to do taxes. It's unavoidable. But for quilting, it's totally avoidable. Okay, so I want us to be smarter quilters, and instead of hiding from our color troubles or hiding from whatever trouble we're facing inside our quilt room or our quilt space, I want us to recognize what we're struggling with so we can figure out what the problem is and start making plans and start taking steps to address it. So let's talk through some of these symptoms that you might be experiencing. All right, so as I'm going through these symptoms, if you identify with them, I want you to type in me or some like emoji or something, because I know for a lot of us, we identify with struggling with color, right? And also, while I'm going through these, I want to keep it light and I want to keep it breezy. I want to have a little bit of fun here. So many times we can take ourselves a little bit too seriously. And if we're working on like a serious quilt project, we can almost get too wrapped up in taking ourselves too seriously. So as I'm going through these color struggle symptoms, please know that I'm being a little silly here. And I want us to keep it light and breezy. Kane is here. So Kane is saying, I choose safe colors or panels. Yes, ma'am. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Carol is here. Kane is here again. And Kane is looking forward to learning. Color is my perceived weakness and challenge. And I love, Kane, I love that you qualified that with perceived, because you're so right. How we perceive it is part of our struggles, right? And Brenda is here as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. And if you identify with it, say me, or type in an exclamation point or, something. All right. So one symptom of color struggles or quilting struggles is going to be you start a lot of projects. So maybe you come to a certain point in a project, maybe you've got a quilt on the design wall and it's not quite going the way you wanted it to or whatever, and you find yourself maybe going online, looking around at different projects, and you find yourself hitting the buy button, and you have a new pattern and you've got some new fabric coming on the way, and you get that new pattern and you unwrap it and you're so excited. You're starting a new project and there's that excitement of that new project. But sometimes what happens is if you quit that one project and started a new project, in that new project, it comes to a certain point where you might have the same result. You might experience the same problem, and you might find yourself starting a third project. And eventually, if you keep going this way, you're going to end up with a, big work in progress pile. And having a big work in progress pile isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if you find yourself keeping busy and not moving, not addressing the actual problem that you're having, you're going to keep experiencing that same symptom. So I know a lot of you guys, I saw your comments coming in as I was saying, starting a lot of projects. Yes, I know it's so fun to start a project, but sometimes you have to ask yourself, why am I starting this project? Am I hiding from what's giving me problems, or am I starting it because I want to start it? So as you're looking through these symptoms and as you're becoming cognizant of the symptoms, a really good question to ask is, well, why am I feeling that? We're going to get to that in just a little bit. Okay, so staying busy by starting a lot of projects or having a lot of projects. And another symptom of color troubles in particular, and if you're one who wants to improve your use of color, and that's a goal for yourself, but you find yourself always using a kit or always using a fabric bundle, that could be a sign of color trouble. Now, I do want to be clear here, and I want to say that using a kit and using a fabric bundle is absolutely okay. But if you have given yourself the goal of improving your use of color, by using a kit, you're not going to be improving your use of color. So kits, fabric bundles definitely have a place, but if you've set that goal in your mind for improving your use of color, if you find yourself just defaulting to a kit or a fabric bundle, that's probably a symptom of, color struggle there. Okay, so yeah, and then using fabric from one fabric line, again, they're great, definitely have a place in our quilting stashes, but if you are hesitant to break up with your fabric bundle, but you want to, then that might be a symptom of color trouble. All right, so I'm coming back here to the comments here because I see them rolling in. Thank you so much for commenting, by the way. That just makes this experience so much more fun for you. So Patty, I'm seeing, oh yes, Patty's saying yes. Marianne is here. Hi. And Carmen is here. Carmen loves using a lot of color. I love using color too. Patty said, I don't want to know how many projects you have moved to Guatemala. Oh man, that's dedication. Block of the months get me. Yes, block of the months get me too. I love them. And I seem to use the same color. So yeah, that brings me back to the list of symptoms here. So one of the symptoms of color trouble is you feel like you're in a color rut, or you feel like you're staying within your color comfort zone, and you want to break free of that color rut or that color comfort zone. And really, there's nothing wrong with being in a color rut or a color comfort zone. It's that feeling that we attribute to our color comfort zone. So let me see. It was, so Linda, you were saying, that you seem to use all the same colors, and that's totally common. But it's that feeling that you have of wanting to move past that. So that's a great feeling to have, right? And it's definitely a sign that you want to improve your color troubles there. So thanks so much for commenting, Linda. That is definitely a symptom of color trouble there. Okay, I'm kind of going out of order here, Linda. You got me. Okay, here's a good one. So as you continue, if you find yourself continuing to struggle with color, and it happens again and again, sometimes, or even if we just have one really bad experience with color, we can start to tell ourselves stories like, I'm just not that great with color. And, that's just not true, but it's something that we're telling ourselves. So it's that story of, I'm just not that good at color. So if you find yourself saying stuff like that, that is definitely a sign of color struggles there. And I know for me, I'm trying to keep it light here because it's color. I know for me, my goodness, I had, oh man, I've shared this story before, but I painted my first house. I wanted to just go crazy with color. And I painted a wall in my first house bright apple green. I'm trying to look around to find a green for you, but it was a Martha Stewart color, so it was bona fide, right? It was bona fide by a professional. And I painted this entire wall, the first wall you see when you walk into the house, apple green, like Granny Smith green. And as I was painting the wall, the first couple strokes were okay, and then after a while, like, my eyes started going in and out, like my focus, and you could feel the color vibration in your eyes. And so, no surprise here. I got done with the wall, and I don't even know why I finished it. Maybe I was thinking once I got the tape off, it wouldn't look so bad. But you know what I told myself after I failed so mightily with that green paint? I told myself that I must not be good with the color green. And I carried that belief with me for a good 10 years. So if you find yourself saying things like, I'm just not that good with color, or I can't work with the color green, definitely a sign of color struggle there. And I just want us to be cognizant of these things that we're telling ourselves. They're not necessarily true, right? We had a bad experience and we're telling ourselves that. And it's like I expected it to just go swimmingly. It was like my first time painting a wall, of course. Shocker, I'm not going to pick the right paint colors. I don't have a degree in design. Shocker, it's apple green. Probably better for like an accent piece. Anyway, okay. So if you find yourself saying things like, I'm just not good with color. I'm not good with color. I'm not good with the color green. All right, and so one of the most common things that I hear quilters say is that, and I've done this myself too, is like they don't feel so great with color. They don't feel confident with color. So one thing that quilters do is they go back and they learn color theory. And so if you feel like you need to like get it right, go back to the beginning and study color from start to finish. That might be a sign that you are struggling with color. Now, I don't recommend studying color theory because you probably already know enough color theory to start making progress mastering color. But if you feel like you need to figure out color theory, there's your sign, as that one comedian says. All right, and then the classic here: if you'd rather do laundry, if you'd rather bake, if you'd rather cook or do some other dreaded chore than pick out a new color palette for a new project, then that might be a big sign that you are struggling with color. Okay, and then if anything color related makes you feel tired and makes you feel like you need to take a nap, that's a good sign that color struggles are overwhelming you and giving you trouble. So Brenda was saying, okay, so that's all I have. I'm going to go back to your comments here and see what you guys have. So Brenda's saying I'm an overanalyzer, and then there goes my confidence level. Yeah, I know I'm an overanalyzer too. And I think one thing that really helps me with overanalyzing color, if I find myself going down that road, sometimes if you leave it up, if you do a fabric pull, leave the fabric pull on your table, walk away, give yourself some space, give yourself some hours, occupy your brain with something else. I know for me, if I occupy my brain with driving, going on a walk, or taking a shower, that gives my brain the space that I need. And then when I come back to the color palette, I usually have an answer or at least a next step. So totally, I'm with you there. And Kane saying, I want to do more color pulls, but unsure about the color combinations. Yeah. And this is where developing your signature color palettes will really help you. So if you notice, famous quilters, famous artists, they always seem to have colors that they always go back to. And one thing that really helped me understand color was realizing that artists, they're not always creating a new color palette to pull from. They're starting with color palettes they know work well together, and they're just creating. So for me, and maybe for you guys here, I was spending so much mental energy trying to figure out a color palette like from the ground up that I didn't have any creative bandwidth to create. And that was really, really frustrating to me. So having signature color palettes that you know work together and that you think work well together, that can really be helpful for color pulls there. I'm getting kind of ahead of myself. We're going to be talking about these next few things in the next couple weeks. So be on the lookout for those broadcasts too. All right. So let me sum us up here, because I just want to be on here for about 20 minutes or so. So if you have any lasting comments or last comments, I'm not sure I'm seeing all the comments on my program here, but I can go back through later and comment. Anyway, okay, so as I'm going through these color symptoms lists, and as you guys are sharing symptoms that you've noticed in yourself, this is exactly what I think we need to do as growing creatives. So as growing creatives, we need to figure out where we're struggling in our studios and our workspaces so that we can make progress towards our creative goals. And identifying symptoms of color struggles or whatever other problems you're having is super important when you need to move past a problem, right? And the tricky thing is for quilting, because it's a hobby, it's really easy for us to kind of sidestep the problems and avoid the problems. So it's really important to figure out what symptoms that we each have as unique individuals. I know for me, it's starting lots of projects and doing laundry. All right, so try to think about what kind of symptoms come up for you. Start identifying your symptoms and how are color troubles bubbling up for you. And so once you know what your symptoms are, then we can talk about what's causing those symptoms and address those problems. So speaking of those causes, in the next video, I'm going to be back to talk about the root causes of color trouble. So in the meantime, you guys think about what symptoms or how the color troubles are bubbling up for you, and I'll be back next week with another video about the root causes of color. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you next week. Thank you for your comments. This is my traditional Midwestern send-off. The kind where you say goodbye for 30 seconds and then you finally go. But truthfully, guys, I am so glad that you guys tuned in here today. And I will see you next week. All right? That is it for me. Bye for now.